Hi, welcome to my video on my top 5 Google tools to help with your holiday. So these are tools that Google make available for free. So if you sign up for a free Gmail account and a free Google account, you'll have access to these and they'll be invaluable to help you organise your next holiday. Okay, you ready? Let's get started. So first, this is a little known one. It's called Google Travel. Travel.google.com. It used to be a native app on Android and iOS, but is now moved to what's called a progressive web app. So it behaves like a native app and it looks like you can install it and it works offline, but it's actually really just a web page in the background with some fancy JavaScript associated with it. So what it does is it actually takes information out of your Gmail account. So what I always do is I always use my Gmail address for when I'm booking holidays or components of holidays. So what it'll do, it'll detect that you've booked a flight and it'll figure out when the outward bound flight and the return flight is, and then if you book things like hotels or car hire in between them, it will harvest them out and it will package them all together into one holiday booking, which is really useful, and it means everything's in one place even though they're spread across multiple emails and so on. And it also, what's good is it shows past trips and future trips, so you can always go back and have a look, and you can always link directly to the email that's linked to the reservation. So there's some other good stuff in there as well, like gives you suggestions and places to eat and things to do, which is really, really useful. I'll just quickly go over and show you what one of those looks like for one of mine. So this is one of my what it looks like for me at the moment. I've got some upcoming travel to a place called Southerness in Scotland. There'll be more coming out about that as we get nearer to the time, and at the moment I've only got, the only other thing I've got booked is a weekend in Blackpool for later in the season. So you can see it just puts it all together there and gives you information, gives you driving directions, gives you hotel prices and things like that, and then it's got potential trips from based on some of my search history, and then you've also got information on past trips, so other places that you've been over the past. You can also book flights directly from here as well, and explore areas. So it's a fantastic tool, to be fair. Some people are a bit uncomfortable with the fact that it harvests information out of your email, but I'm not that fussed, and it puts everything together really nicely. So that's Google Travel. The next one is probably something that people don't really think of, but Google Drive is another really useful tool. You get 15 gig of free cloud storage automatically with your Google account, and it's got a native phone app for it as well. So what I tend to do with this is when I do my bookings and I put my Gmail account in for getting the documents emailed to me, what I used to do is the thank you page that you get with your reservation number and so on, I would print that page out so that I had it and I had the information. But when you're on the Chrome browser, you can actually print your web page to a PDF and store them directly on the Google Drive. So it just means it saves you having to print them off. It means you've got a PDF version of it. What I tend to do then is I will create a folder for the holiday. So for example, if I was going to Florida in 2022, I would create a folder called Florida 2022, and then all of the PDFs would then go into there. You've also then got an added bonus of when the travel documents come through to your Gmail account as attachments, you can actually right click on the attachment and save that directly to your Google Drive. So all of the information will be, all the PDFs and so on will be in that place for you. One of the good things about it as well then is you can go to the folder itself on the Android or iOS app, and there's 3 little dots, and you click on the dots and you tell it to make that folder available offline, and what that will do, it will just, every time you add something to that folder, it will automatically download it to your phone as well. So that then means when you're in a foreign country or wherever you are, you don't have to have access to Wi-Fi to be able to view these PDFs. So if you're going into a car hire place and they're like, oh, I can't find your reservation, based on your name, you just instantly go to your Google Drive, go to that folder, and you'll just have access to the PDF document that was emailed to you by the car hire company. Things like that, really, really useful. One of the other things I really like to do with it as well, which I would recommend if you're going to do this, that you switch on two-factor authentication on your Google account, and what that then means is you log in with a username and password. What it will then do is, as well as that it will then send a notification to your phone saying, is this actually you trying to log in? And the reason I've done that for mine is what I do is I take a photo of all of my important documents, like my passport, driver's license, my national insurance number card, anything that you need. If you lost it, it would be difficult to replace if you didn't have the details. So, for example, with passports, if you lose your passport, one of the things they will ask you when you apply for another one is what was your old passport number and when was it issued and where was it issued and so on. So if you haven't got a photo of it, you wouldn't know that information, and it makes it more difficult to get your replacement, whereas I have that. It's also been useful in the past when someone's asked me to countersign a photograph for them or one of their children to enable them to get a passport. Normally you have to put in again your passport number and date and time of issue and place of issue, which means that when people have asked me in the past before I started doing this, I'd have to take the form home with me and take the photos home with me, find my passport information, fill that in and then take it back the next day, whereas now I can just pull that up on my phone and I've got access to it. So that's really useful thing to do, so I would definitely recommend that. So that's Google Drive. Google Photos, this is another one that not a lot of people know about, I don't think. What it does is it automatically backs up your photos to the Google Cloud when you take photos on your phone. It used to be, unfortunately it's not anymore, but it used to be that if you agreed to have them as lower resolution images backed up, you could back up as much as you want and it was unlimited. And I made quite heavy use of that over the years. Now all of those stay as they are for me, so they're not taking up any of my space, but any new ones I take up some of my 15 gig of my free Google Drive allowance. Now you can pay extra. I think for a 200 gig allowance is something like £25 a year, so it's not a huge amount, but it does grate a little bit when they'd always said in the past it's going to be free forever. And that was one of the reasons I used it. What I also do is you can download the Google Drive or Google Photos app for your PC, and then any photos you take on a non-phone camera that you put on your PC then from the SD cards will then also get backed up to Google Photos. So it means I've got a backup of every photo I've ever taken on Google, and it's great because there's a Google Photos app that you can use which shows you where if you've taken them with a camera which has got a GPS, you actually can get a map of the world, and it shows you like a heat map of where you've had photos taken, so it's great to see what parts of the world you've been to. It's quite nice. There's also a really useful search in there, so you can search for things within photos. So you can, for example, type the word zoo, and based on GPS data and based on what's in the photo, it will return the photos that match zoo. You can also take photos like beach and places like Orlando or Australia, and it will show you all those photos. What you can also do is tag people in them. So you draw a box. It does automatically do that once you've done it for a few. So you draw a box around the face and say this is this person, this is this person, and then it will try and recognise them in future photos. So what you can also do is you can search for beach and a person's name, and it will find all photos of that person on a beach. So I found that invaluable. It's absolutely superb. It's really frustrating that you can no longer upload as much as you want for free, but I guess storage costs money, so they're charging people now for there. So yeah, Google Photos, great, absolutely fantastic. This is another one that a lot of people don't know about, Google Keep, and it's probably something people don't really think about with for holidays. There's a native app for Android and iOS as well, but one of the things I use this for a lot is to make really quick notes, but you can also do checklists. So what I've always found over the years when I've gone on holiday, I've arrived somewhere and I've thought, oh, if only I'd have brought such and such with me. It used to happen a lot on camping holidays. I'd get there and I forgot to bring sauce to go on bacon butties when I'm making bacon butties. You then have to go and find somewhere that sold it, and you'd and to buy it, things like that. So what I always do now is whenever I've got something like that, I'll just add it to my list. So I've now got a really big list of things that I want to remember before I take on to go on holiday with. And what I will do is I will sit down and I will, a couple of days before I go on holiday, and I will go through the tick list and I will make sure that I've got all of those things. Simple things that you probably would remember, but I like to tick them off. So I've got suitcases, sun cream. Usually when we're going on a big holiday abroad, we will be going for somebody's birthday. So one of the things I like to put in the suitcase is candles and party banners. Sunglasses, a big thing that I've forgotten more times than I care to admit. Phone chargers, the online boarding passes, cards for the bank account so that I can get money out when I'm over there if I need it. Usually if I'm going to the States, I would like to take my Costco card with me, because there's usually a Costco and you get then cheap fuel and cheap food. My wife loves her decaf tea, so decaf tea bags, because you can't always get them in other countries. Socket converters. I always take, as well as the socket converters, I always take a normal power strip as well with 6 plugs. So what I would do is I would plug that into the wall with the socket converter, and then I would just use the normal 6 plugs for when I'm plugging in my stuff from the UK. Cameras. I used to take SatNav with me because I had a SatNav which had maps for all over the world, but now I just use offline Google Maps. I've done another video on that called Google Maps Hacks for Orlando, which shows you how to use offline maps for Google, and works a treat. Insurance documents, booking information, driver's licenses if I'm hiring a car, and obviously car hire information, passports, any e-tickets, contact lenses for my wife, any cash that I've got, and that's it really usually. Obviously I've got another list for when I'm going on a camping holiday, which obviously includes sauce that I always forget, things like that. So I find that invaluable, and it gives you a sense of completion then when you are about to leave for a holiday and that you've got everything that you need. And if you do arrive somewhere and you realise you've forgotten something, you add it to the list, and then next time you go, you won't forget it. Really useful. The last one, it's one I've used a lot of times, and you'll see on pretty much every one of my other videos, Google Maps. What I've used this for is when it's a place I'm completely unfamiliar with. I don't even know what airport to fly into. If you look at my video on New York trips, you will find there I don't really know New York very well, so what I did, I found it on Google Maps, drew a sort of small area, so got it on screen and an area around it, and then just typed in international airport, and then I found that there were actually 3 airports that serviced New York, so that then meant I could check which was the cheapest one to fly into. I was then able to use Google Maps to find how to get from each airport into the centre of Manhattan in New York, to using public transport, which then enabled me to get into town. So Google Maps is invaluable. You can actually drop down and drop a pegman into an area and actually have a look around where a hotel is, because you could find that, oh, that looks like a good hotel on booking.com or whatever, or hotels.com. You drop a pegman in there and you find that there's nothing around it, and you've got to drive for 20 minutes to find somewhere to eat, things like that. So absolutely invaluable for that sort of thing. One of the things I mentioned before from one of my other videos, you can store offline maps to allow you to use navigation. I have found in a lot of places the navigation only works for car directions or public transport. It doesn't work very well for walking directions. One of the other things it can be used for is to figure out what car rideshare apps are in the area, because when I did the Orlando one, I noticed that when you do it on your phone, you can actually have a look at Lyft prices and see where the nearest Lyft cars are for things like that, and I think it does work with Uber as well. So it's really good, and there's stuff on there where people have actually dropped sort of maps of indoor areas as well, so you can actually zoom in on the likes of airports or malls and places like that, and theme parks. It's great for reviews. A lot of the time that people will have uploaded opening times there as well, so you can see when's best to visit. So yeah, Google Maps, that's my top one for using it. Now there we go. I hope that's been useful for you. If it has, please consider subscribing to my channel and put a like on this video. Maybe you disagree with some of those, or you've got some tips of your own, so please comment below if that's the case, and I'll try and reply. But thanks very much for listening.